We have a potent transit that begins today in a season of potent transits and in a season of really powerful, intense astrology. So we're going to take a look at what's happening in the human design world and talk about how you can make the most of it. And one thing that's coming up is a Mercury retrograde. So we'll talk about that. And then also we have a very interesting highlight on leadership. So let's go ahead and take a look. So today on November 22nd, the sun is going to move into the gate 34 and the earth is going to move into the gate 20. The 3420 is a very powerful channel. It's known colloquially as the channel of the manifesting generator. It's also known as the channel of charisma. It's the only channel that goes directly from the sacral center, which is the red square down towards the bottom of the chart. If you have it colored in, and it's going to be colored in for everybody during this transit. And this is what makes a generator, is when that center is colored in and it's red. So it goes from the sacral center directly up to the throat. So one of the things in human design lore is we say if human design were a game, the point of the game would be to get energy to the throat. Well, now, why is that? It's because the throat is the center for expression. Yes, we know that because that's what the throat chakra is about. But in human design, it's also the center for activation and manifestation. So we want to get power to the place where we get to express and activate and manifest from, right? So this is called manifesting energy. When there's any of one of the four motors, and the sacral is the most powerful motor, but any one of the four motors, if they somehow get to the throat, that is manifesting energy. It makes you either a manifesting generator or a pure manifester. In this case, it's always going to be a manifesting generator because this channel will define both that red square, the sacral at the bottom, and the throat. So you can see this connection here. Now, this is a super powerful, fast channel because the sacral is, as I said, the most powerful engine in the chart. It's the center for life force energy, right? It's powerful. That's why the gate 34 is called the gate of power, because it is so powerful. So, but then it's coming directly up here, right? And so the energy that comes out of the sacral and heads directly up to the throat is fast. It's really fast. And so people who have this defined in their chart on a regular basis oftentimes find that they need to really focus to be able to manage that powerful manifesting energy. Because otherwise, sometimes what can happen is it can kind of manage you. It can start pushing you around a little bit. So notice for yourself while we're doing this transit, if you're a non-sacral being, you're going to have your sacral defined. So that's going to give you a boost of life force energy. If you have an open throat, you're going to have a defined throat. So for me, that's awesome because I have an open throat. So I'm going to get my throat motorized as well as defined during this transit. And this will definitely make my experience be different. And it will be for you too, if these are open centers. Now, the 34 is known, like I said, as the gate of power, and it is coming off the sacral center, and it has a lot of speed to it. It also has a lot of capacity to it. So people who have this defined in their chart, I have this, I don't have the 20, but I do have the 34. It's known as the busy gate. So people who have this and here during this transit, you can multitask. Right? You can be doing lots of different things because you have a lot of capacity to be engaging with different activities at the same time. Now, this is something that we generally think of as being true for manifesting generators, which is the case, but it's also true for people who have the 34 colored in on their chart. So again, this gate of power can be a huge ally. I know for me, it gives me a lot of energy to be able to engage with all of the different projects that I'm involved in all the time, right? It really facilitates that. The challenge with the 34, though, like I said, is that you can end up being really busy and not doing anything. You can kind of spin your wheels. And people I know who have this whole chart, the whole channel colored in on their chart, sometimes have that problem of kind of spinning in their lives because the energy is so fast and it's sending them in multiple directions, but they kind of don't know. So they could spin, they can be scattered, they can be in a million things and not be remembering what they're doing. So this is really important energy to be getting on top of, right? To be able to go, okay, wow, I've got all this potent energy. Grounding yourself is really important to be grounding right now anyway, for many reasons, but really grounding yourself, right? Getting connected to the earth, because that'll help stabilize you. It'll help you to, have your roots down so that what's going on up here has a foundation, right? Instead of you being more like a bunch of balloons that somebody let go and they're going off into the stratosphere, which is also what can happen. So you want to ground yourself. And I think doing regular energy practices during this time is to help clear your energy, to help manage your energy, to help harness it. This is one of those great opportunities to really use the Kundalini yoga practice that we do in the Sovereign Sisterhood. And also there are other videos. If you look for the playlist Gifts for My Audience, there are multiple Kundalini yoga videos on my YouTube channel. And it will help you get a handle on this energy, because otherwise, like I said, it can kind of run you around. But it's really, really great. So if you have stuff that you need to get done, now's a good time, because you're going to have plenty of energy for that. So we talked about the gate 34. Let's talk about the gate 20 a little bit. So this is an interesting alignment here, because the 20 in traditional human design is known as metamorphosis, and in quantum human design is known as patience. And so the 20 is a little bit like, is it the right time? Is it the right situation? Is it the right people? Is everything in alignment? So while the 34 is like, let's do it, let's go for it, let's go do this, let's do that, let's do the other. The 20 is like, okay, wait, let's just slow down. Let's take a little bit of time. Is it the right thing to be doing right now? So it's kind of a balance, actually, between that energy of the sacral coming up that just is like power coming in. But we want to use our power in a way that's really going to serve us. It's going to uplift our lives. It's going to help us to thrive, not in ways that deplete us and exhaust us, right? Which is potentially what can happen. So leaning into that gate 20 to see, okay, is this the right situation? Are the right people assembled? Are the right resources in order? Is the right situation unfolding now? Or do I need to wait for the right time? This is where you want to be using your human design authority. If you're a generator, you're going to use your sacral authority, which is really lit up with this channel right now. So you want to use your authority to tune into, is it the right time? Because even the best idea, the best project, the best people assembled, if it's not the right time, it doesn't work well. And so this is something that you really want to protect yourself against, because unfortunately, we can kind of get out of whack by trying to force things through because we think it's a great idea, but it's not the right time. I want to highlight the leadership gates that are currently being lit up. I find this very, very interesting because earlier this week, Pluto moved fully into Aquarius on Tuesday, November 19th. So we're just right next to when that happened. Okay. So we moved from an earth sign to an air sign. We moved from the old order to the new emergent world. Right? So there's a big change that's happening for all of us, because whatever happens for Pluto affects everybody on the planet, right? It's a collective energy. It's a generational, transpersonal energy. So it's really influencing and affecting everyone. And you may or may not have really identified it in your life yet, but Pluto's move has been going on all of 2024, because Pluto originally moved into Aquarius at the beginning of 2024, then went back into Capricorn for a couple of months, and now has moved direct into Aquarius. So here we are at the cusp of a new age. We're moving into the Aquarian age. We're moving into a revolutionary, liberatory time of really looking at how do we have a more equitable world, a more compassionate world, more caring world, where we recognize that we're in this together and we're not at loggerheads fighting over resources, fighting over power. right? This is what Aquarius is really saying to us, is that we need to get our act together regarding our expressions of power. Because of course, Pluto is all about power as well. And so Pluto is moving through the different aspects of power that we're experiencing. And the leadership gates are all about power, a certain kind of power, right? And typically when I talk about these, I like to put them in the context of leadership energy that is appropriate for our new world. So right now we have Mars lighting up the gate 31. So the gate 31 is right here. It's on the throat. It's in the logic circuit or the pattern circuit. So it's collective energy. And it is the leadership gate of collective circuitry. In traditional human design, it was known as democracy or sometimes the leader. I like to call it the New World leader, because for me, this is about us leaning into how are we going to truly have democracy, for example? How are we going to truly have structures where we hear everyone's voice, where everyone participates? Doesn't mean everybody gets what they want all the time, because that's not really possible. But what we can do is hear each other. We can see each other. We can feel what's going on for each other. And these are qualities really of the world that we're moving into. And so this New World leader, who in more traditional human design was like the president, right? It was like the person at the top of the hierarchy, is we're looking at how does even this collective energy evolve so that it is working inside of a structure that allows for more participation from more people in a more equitable way. Then we have Venus, who's in the gate 38. So the gate 38 is down in the root center, and the 38 is the leadership energy of the knowing circuit. So the knowing circuit is individual circuitry. It's here to be different. It's here to bring change. The gate 38 is known as known as the Martin Luther King gate. And it was known as the fighter in traditional human design. And it's been renamed the visionary leader in quantum human design. But I really think of this as leadership energy. I call it the stake in the ground gate, right? How are you putting your stake in the ground around what matters to you? What are you willing to stand up for and engage in some nonviolent way, right? Of course, Martin Luther King was nonviolent action, but very much devoted to action. How do we take nonviolent action to help change the consciousness, both of the people who are rising up, who are wanting to have a larger voice, but then also change the consciousness of the powers that be so that, like I said, it's more horizontal and not as vertical. And so the knowing circuit is leading us into our future, because individual circuitry is where the evolutionary impulse of humanity runs through the human design chart. And so this is evolutionary energy. And it is individual circuitry, but like I said, in this case, it is a leadership energy. So it is leading us into the new potentials that we can feel are coming. We want them to come. We're not quite there yet. So we're just stepping in and exploring and seeing what is this energy going to be like for us. And then last but not least, Jupiter is lighting up the gate 45, and Jupiter's been there for a while. And he's going to be there through the beginning of December. So another couple of weeks. And the gate 45 is the leadership gate of the tribal circuit. And so it was known as the royalty gate or the king or queen gate or the sovereign gate. In traditional human design. In quantum human design, it's been renamed distribution, to try to highlight that in a tribal context, we want to be looking at how are we distributing our resources so that everybody has what they need. It doesn't mean that everybody necessarily gets the same thing, but it does mean that people get what they need. And if you have a single person or a couple of people who live together, and you have a family and they have 4 kids, or they have 2 kids and they have grandma, then they need more resources than the single person or the couple. right? So to be looking at how are we distributing our resources to make sure that everybody in the tribe is getting what they need, which doesn't mean that everybody gets the same thing. That's a pretty high way of thinking about distribution, because a lot of times when we are really focused on equality, we're like, everybody should get the same thing. But the truth is not everybody needs the same thing. So sometimes we might want to morph that to a degree. But that 45, of course, has a shadow. And its shadow is dictatorship or authoritarianism, which unfortunately is on the rise in our world today. And Jupiter, who's the god of expansion, is kind of like, are you going to expand the benevolent expression of this tribal leadership? Or are you going to express and expand the more shadow state? So the shadow here is using the energy of this gate to gain power for yourself, to control and manipulate situations and people outside of yourself so that you can feel more safe, and usually so that you can garner more resources to yourself. So all of these gates have shadows, of course, but the 45 right now is really happening in terms of the shadow, because we're seeing a rise of authoritarianism in many different parts of the world. And I think this is a place that people turn to when they're afraid. They're looking for a strong leader. They've been in the habit of handing their power over to other people. This is one of the ways that we get taught from where the littlest people is like, the people in authority are the ones who know, and we should follow what they tell us to do. And so this is something that's kind of deeply enculturated in us. But we have other choices. We have a choice to have more horizontal structures, and where we rotate different forms of power, and different people can share power. And we're not having one really powerful person at the top and a few people who also benefit. This is like royalty and aristocracy in the 21st century, right? That's authoritarianism, right? It's like it's just like a new form of royalty. And so in my view, we're moving out of this, right? This is Pluto in the Aquarian age is all about moving out of that, right? And it doesn't mean it's going to happen instantaneously, because Pluto's going to take some time moving through Aquarius over the next 20 years. But you can bet that while this is happening, Pluto likes to bring things that have been in the shadow to the surface. Pluto likes to look at where things are out of integrity, wants to look at where has power been corrupted. And so with all of these different leadership gates, and here we've got Jupiter, we've got Venus, and we've got Mars, all lighting up these leadership gates. So my question for you is, how are you feeling about leadership in your own life right now? Are you rejecting it? Do you think it's for other people? Do you think it's corrupt and you don't want to have anything to do with it? Are you feeling the stirring inside of you of stepping into some form of leadership? Perhaps in a group you're already a part of, or maybe starting a group, or advocating for a cause or for people that matter to you, right? Because I think there's a lot of stirring going on around leadership as Pluto moves into Aquarius, among people who may have thought that in the past, those avenues were not open to them. But I think we're in a time where, rather than thinking of how can I get access to that avenue to power, right, is instead, how do I create my own avenues? How do I create my own projects? How do I gather people together? How do we co-create in ways that are beneficial for all of us? And then, just to keep it interesting, Mercury's going to go retrograde on November 25th in the gate 11, but he's only there for a day. So I wanted to show you these two images. He's there for a day, and then he retrogrades back immediately into the gate 26. So really, Mercury has mostly been in the gate 26. And what I want to emphasize here is the gate 26 is the gate of integrity. And so Mars is asking us, going back over, right, our experience where we've already been, taking a look again. Are we in integrity with our speech? Are we in integrity with our communication? Are we in integrity with our technology, right? Are we in integrity with all of these things? So if we look at the short part of the Mercury retrograde, it's going to go from November 26th through December 15th, which is kind of a long Mercury retrograde. They're usually about 3 weeks. This one is a little bit longer. But the whole cycle started back on November 7th and is going to go all the way to January 6th because we have a shadow ahead of time and then a shadow afterwards. So it's really a much longer transit. It's more like 2 months. I know personally for me, I've already been talking to people about the tech challenges that we're having because sometimes during Mercury retrograde, we do have technology issues, right? So the thing about a Mercury retrograde, okay, is pay attention to what it is that Mercury wants you to pay attention to, right? So we've got that gate 26. We've also got the gate 9. We've also got the gate 11. The gate 9 is the gate of focus. The gate 11 is the gate of ideas. But the majority of it, we're in the gate 26, which is the gate of integrity. So again, there's just so many different forces that are happening here in the cosmic world that are inviting us to saying, take another look. How are you talking? Who are you talking to? Are you being dogmatic? Are you being domineering? Are you really listening? Are you offering your advice when it's asked for? Are you pushing your advice on other people when they don't want it? Like what is happening with that? And remember, again, Pluto's just come into Aquarius, so we're all kind of moving into a more equitable way of being. Although there is momentum behind a more domineering way of being, absolutely. But we can choose which energy we want to be a part of, which energy do we want to fuel, right? And which do we want to let go of? So one of the great things to do during a Mercury retrograde too is just to be looking at where's Mercury been? What has your experience been like? And to just go back and pay attention, because sometimes things really pop out at you that you weren't really noticing before. The other thing, just in terms of your communication, and this is always what I do, I'm sure you've heard this before, but it's worth saying again and again and again, which is to communicate again and again and again. Right? It's just about recognizing that sometimes messages don't go through. Sometimes technology doesn't work. Sometimes people forget what your communication was. Sometimes people don't hear the same thing that you thought you said. And so your communication is going sideways, right? There's all kinds of things. So what I would say is, just make sure, confirm again. Right? Especially for things that are important. Don't assume that everybody's on the same page. Don't assume that, the calendars are all lined up. Just check and double check and check again. You'll be glad that you did. This week, we had the Aquarian Activation and Initiation Intensive. You still can join, come and watch the replays. You can get the reflection journals. You can be part of the community, be reading about people's experiences, and join in. It's going to be open. I'm not actually sure how long I'm going to leave it open, but it's going to be open for a while. So the link will be at the end of the video and it'll be down in the description. And this is all about leaning into what does Pluto and Aquarius mean for us? What is Plutonian energy? What is Aquarian energy? When Pluto is in Capricorn, how we're moving out of that? What does it mean that we're going into Aquarian energy? But we also looked at what is happening with the other outer planets that have been really highlighting gates in the knowing circuit and the sensing circuit for 4 years. Okay, we haven't had any logical gates lit up by the outer planets in 4 years. A lot of it's in knowing. So a lot of it has to do with, are you paying attention to your intuition, right? Are you opening up your intuition? Are you fostering your inner guidance? Or do you keep looking outside of yourself for direction, right? So we've been digging into that. And I encourage you to come and check it out. It's actually been really rich. I think you'll enjoy it. And it's my gift to you. All right, my friends, many blessings, much love. Bye for now.